You asked for it, here it is. My top 5 80s era professional wrestlers. Number 5 is the one and only Macho Man Randy Savage. Oh yeah! And if you haven't tried that impression, you can't be a friend of mine. Macho Man, right? Macho Man was the man, snap into a Slim Jim, right? His battles, the mega powers with Hulk Hogan was like awe-inspiring to me as a little man. But more than anything, the most vivid memory I have of Macho Man Randy Savage was when he was battling Jake the Snake, and Jake released that snake on his arm and it bit him, and he was tied up in the rope screaming in like a crucifix while that snake was just gnawing on his arm. I have a chronic fear of snakes to this day. I'm terrified. Matter of fact, I'm terrified of lizards. They're too close to snakes. I can't even handle it. I don't even go into lake water sometimes because the thought of an eel could touch me, which doesn't even make sense. But thank you for that memory, Macho Man Randy Savage. I really appreciate that one. Rest in peace, by the way. Number 5, Macho Man Randy Savage. Number 4, Rick Rude. Rick Rude was the worst of bad guys, but I loved him. I love that guy. I used to root for that guy. He was so slimy, and he was like the epitome of the dude that would hit on your girlfriend when you left the room. Man, I hated that guy, but he won, and he was also like super tough. So I like love to hate him kind of a thing. Pretty polarizing character. Rick Rude, man, awesome dude, awesome. Love me some Rick Rude. My number 3 favorite wrestler of the 80s era, Sting. Sting was awesome. So let me take you back here. I temporarily lived in Panama City as a child for like maybe 2 years, maybe a little less than 2 years, something like that. But before that, I was born and raised and lived all around the Pennsylvania, Philadelphia area. So when I moved with my foster family, or to my foster family at that time, to Pennsylvania, Florida, to Panama City, Florida, my professional wrestling changed. And all of a sudden there was TBS and WCW and this whole cast of characters I had never seen before. And with that was Sting. I remember going into a dollar store and seeing a plastic WCW belt, and I had to have it. I begged and begged and begged my foster mother, and she bought it for me. And I religiously watched Sting with that belt over my shoulder. I loved that guy. I used to tap it like this when he would come out. I loved Sting. He was the epitome of the good guy. He would be fighting and battling Ric Flair. I hated Ric Flair. He would come out in his robe and all majestic and act like he owned the building. And I was like, come on, Sting, come crush that old man. Much respect to both of them, but boy, did I love Sting. That face paint was just the coolest thing I had ever seen at that time. That flat top. I got black hair. I was so jealous of that blonde flat top. Man, Sting was just the coolest thing I had seen at that time. Number 3, Sting. Number 2, The Ultimate Warrior. Man, he is a number 2 by like a very slim margin. I had never seen anything like The Ultimate Warrior. In my young mind, I think I was like, 7 to 10 or something when he had his like big impact in the 80s. Man, he was battling my man Rick Rude. He battled everybody. He battled Jake the Snake. Of course, he and Hogan at WrestleMania was like one of the biggest matches I had ever seen, if not the biggest match I'd ever seen at that time in my life. And it made me had to pick. It made me had to pick my number 1 and my number 2, which was a really hard decision to make for a young man. But with that, number 2, Ultimate Warrior. And my number 1 80s era favorite wrestler, Hulk Hogan. If you haven't guessed it, Hulk Hogan. I loved Hulk Hogan, dude. If you didn't love Hulk Hogan, again, you can't be my friend. I mean, that guy was just America. He rooted for, he was constantly rooting for the underdog. He was the good guy. You can count on him. And he was everywhere. I mean, that guy was on Nickelodeon. He was on every show. He was in every commercial. He was in it. I watched every movie he was in. He was everywhere. I tore countless t-shirts imitating that man, both in the appropriate and inappropriate settings. Huge impact on my life. Hulk Hogan, number 1. And that is my top 5 80s era favorite professional wrestlers. Please leave a comment, like, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.